I'm Jaclyn, a bookseller at This Is a Bookstore and BookBug. I'm coming to you from my home today, as I'm sure almost everyone else you've talked to and or seen is coming to you from their homes. But be glad we don't live in the city of Night Vale, where there is a faceless old woman who secretly lives in your home. The actual title of this actual book that just came out. It is from the world of a podcast called Welcome to Night Vale, which I've been listening to for about the past 7 years now. I really love it. It's wacky, it's zany. I think someone described it as if Stephen King and Neil Gaiman started a game of The Sims and just left it for 1,000 years to go on autoplay. And that's a wild description, but that's the closest I have ever come to trying to describe this world of Night Vale. You do not need to have listened to the podcast or have any idea about the podcast to be able to pick up this book and enjoy it. I know that's something that people say a lot, and then sometimes you get the feeling that there are references that you're not getting, or there's like some secret undertone. But this book is just so weird that like most of the weirdness is just that. There's no underlying reference. You do not have to go to a Wikipedia page to understand what's happening. Just accept that some of the time you won't, and that's what makes it great. This book follows, as the title suggests, a faceless old woman who secretly lives not only in your home, but in everyone's homes in Night Vale. On the podcast, on the audiobook, she is voiced by Mara Wilson, who you might know as a child actress who played Matilda in that lovely movie. She has become a lovely woman and a great voice actress. So definitely props to the audiobook there. If you'd like to get it, you can get it on Libro.fm and select BookBug as the bookstore that you'd like to support. I highly recommend that as well. But I read this book with my eyes instead of my ears, which was also a great experience. It follows this faceless old woman. She sort of is not a ghost, but also is. She haunts people in the city of Night Vale and just does these horrible, weird things and makes their life better but more horrifying at the same time. This book jumps between that current timeline in the city of Night Vale where everything is strange and she's sort of haunting people, and her past when she was just a normal, meaning having a face and being a physical being, human woman who grew up and had a series of betrayals and revenges and went through her whole life, and it says how she got to this point of just being a ghastly specter bent on being strange and upsetting. The past story, which is the majority of the book itself, I found deeply compelling. It reminded me a lot of Count of Monte Cristo in that it involves a revenge quest, a manipulation and getting close to people and doing different things to try to get your ultimate goal, and changing in a deep way as a person as you try to get that way, and spending years and years of your life and all of the people who come in and out and the loves gained and lost during all of that. I love that stuff. Owen Colfer's Airman has a similar vibe and is a sort of middle grade young adult book. I read that when I was younger and absolutely loved it. Oh man, I love that book. But what I like about this even more than Count of Monte Cristo and Airman is the fact that the main character in this is a woman who is allowed to want revenge and do horrible and sometimes really ill-advised things, and have a love interest and then just abandon that love interest recklessly and not have it be a weird, edgy, look, it's a lady doing these things sort of a deal. And I think that sort of here is the hero that you've seen in an archetype, and now a woman is allowed to do it and allowed to do it without calling all that much attention to it. I haven't had that feeling since I saw Wonder Woman back when it came out. There's also some really lovely representation that doesn't call attention to itself in a look what we did, we are woke and cool sort of way. There are Jewish characters, there are aromantic and asexual characters, there are gay characters, there are characters coming from different faith and economic backgrounds, and it explores the effect of each of those on those individual people, and neither fully excuses or fully explains where those people are, but it does give you a glimpse into some of them. And also with the sort of gang of people who come along for this adventure had a sort of Brandon Sanderson like high fantasy vibe where you've got your like band of roguish people. There's someone who's like adept at disguises, and there's someone who's super charming, and then there's the like person who's really big and fights people. And that's a lady too. She's just like a giant woman who can punch really good, and that's that. And no one like bats an eye, and that's really awesome. It made me sad that I hadn't thought up of any of these characters for my Dungeons & Dragons campaigns, and I may steal some of them, and I'm okay with that. But aside from the characters, the plot itself sort of winds and weaves, and it follows the entire life, and I guess afterlife, maybe, of this woman from her birth to her somethingth. We don't really know what happens to her to make her into this, like, ghostly thing that she is. But it expresses the passing of years and the perspective of age in a way that like I as a young person truly just don't understand. But it did so in a really compelling way, and the ways that like relationships affect you and sometimes you have to let them go, and the effect that revenge and hatefulness has on a person. I don't know if it has an ultimately positive or negative message, and I think that's asking the wrong question. I was in a bit of a weird state when I read it, but I wasn't like put off by the sense of like vengefulness and negativity there. It seemed like a very like honest look at humanity and what is worthwhile in a life and what is not. It seemed to come at that with a very honest perspective and not sort of like twisting the knife to get an emotional reaction. This is a book that, though I had some like discomfort and weirdness and thought some things could have been done better, but I had that like utterly unique feeling when ending it of like, there's so much I missed in this book, and so much in this book is going to make me think and ponder and consider, and I know I'm going to be coming back to it and recommending it for years. And like, that is so rare to me. The last book that I had that for was actually Frankenstein, which is the Jeanette Winterson book that I led a book club for here, which was also just strange and compelling, and I need to reread it and just find all of the things that it reflects on like life and humanity and personhood that just made me think and made me ponder the way that reading is supposed to do. So that is The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home. I believe we have signed copies available. I don't know how many there are, but I would give the bookstore a call or go to bookbugkalamazoo.com to pick up a copy. I highly recommend it. I thought it was great. I hope that reading it is able to give you some solace in a world entirely unlike and also like your own, like it did to me. Thanks for watching. Bye.